Here we are at part 2 of selling living microgreens. So this is basically the results of what I got off my first trial. And I've got some pretty good data here, some pretty good information. Let's start with the basil. Now this is the hemp basil. Let's see, it's doing okay. It's not very tall. I wouldn't do any of these exactly the way I did the first time again. I wouldn't put them straight under light. I would keep them either in the dark or I'm going to stack them. I'll show you that later. Here is the rockwool basil. It's doing fine as well. Here's the wood fiber mats. It's actually doing okay for the basil. Now when I ended my video on the first episode, I showed that I was leaving them all, they were all like cracked open. I didn't end up keeping it that way. They were drying up really quick, and I ended up misting them daily, and then after like a couple days, I just clipped one side down. That's okay for a while, but ideally, I need to put holes in them. I haven't done that yet. I'm going to do that probably tonight, but not on these ones. I'll show you. But with I'm going to try a soldering iron and just put like 3 holes per side. So I want to keep it wet, but I don't want it to dry out either. So that's kind of going to be the challenge here, is to relieve some moisture, but not too much moisture. But anyways, let's get back to what I was talking about here. So the basil, I think, is pretty equal on all 3 of these. And possibly the hemp might even look... No, I'm going to say the hemp and the rockwool are equal. And the wood fiber mats, pretty close second. And keep in mind, there's no nutrients yet in the hemp, where these two both had nutrients added. Now let's get looking at something that grew a little bit better. These were also, like I said, they've been sealed up the whole time, which is not good. So all that moisture's just been sitting here. So I do have some mold in some of these. I'm going to show you. But that shouldn't be the case if I had some ventilation. So here's the hemp. This is a spicy salad mix. It actually did really well. You know, everything's soaked, like I said, because I didn't add any ventilation. But this is viable. Like, this would have worked just fine. Same thing with the rockwool. That also would have worked just fine, just like that. And the wood fiber mats, you can see some mold in here. And there's a little bit, I think, yeah, there's a little bit on probably each of these trays. It's minimal on these two. It's more noticeable on the wood fiber. Here we have our purple, this might be purple Sango, I can't remember what I planted, maybe Rambo. But did really well on the hemp. I think there is some mold down there. I don't think that's just root hairs. All these, I'm going to just dump them. I'm going to clean these containers up and reuse them. The basil, I'm going to continue on with the experiment and let them keep growing. Here's the rockwool. So these both look pretty good. And then the wood fiber mats did not do as good. A little bit more mold issues, and they just didn't grow as well. Now, I can tell you that it's been like probably close to 2 weeks since I started this experiment. And because I laid all the seeds out and had them under the lights all the time, they germinated way slower than they normally would. And so if I did this again, I would definitely put them in the dark. Like I mentioned that once. That would have helped with the germination on all of them, not just, you know, one or the other. Overall, I mean, that's still a pretty saleable product if it wasn't so wet. Same with this one. And all these were pretty good, except a little bit mold issue there on the wood fiber mats. And the basil, obviously, it's too short to really do anything with. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit all 3 of these with a nutrient solution, put holes in the containers, and keep them growing, just because it's basil, so why toss it out? So why am I talking like I'm not going to go with any of these? Well, there's a good reason for that. I've decided that I don't really want to deal with any of these pads. So for one, the rock wool worked really well on all of them. No issues really with the rock wool. That's probably my cheapest. No, that's not my cheapest, but it's cheaper. The wood fiber mats are the cheapest, but those are a no-go. I don't like them. The rock wool is probably cheaper than hemp, but it's still not super cheap. And like I said in the original video, the episode 1, I don't really want to give people the rock wool because I don't know that they're going to really want to have to deal with getting rid of that. The hemp mats are good, but you know, they can be kind of pricey, and I still may go with the hemp because I do really like that overall. But I found coco coir. So as long as I've been growing microgreens, I have never tried the coco coir that comes in a brick. I've tried some in a bag, and I've tried some in a mat, and I didn't really care for it either time. But this stuff, I've been pretty happy with. The last time I talked to my buddy Frank, who is from a Facebook page that I help moderate, the last time I talked to him, he highly recommended that I use the coco coir. And so I figured, well, I'll give it a shot. Now, what I was super impressed with is the amount of coco coir I can get for the money. So I have down here this brick. It's actually 3 bricks. So this I found at my local hardware store. It's like a True Value or Do It Best or whatever type hardware store. And these, you get 4 individual bricks in them. They're about an inch thick, and probably, I'd say that's a foot by a foot, 12 inches by 12 inches. Now, one of those bricks fills up this entire container. Like, I've used quite a bit of it. But once you get it wet, it expands to this whole container. I was actually blown away at just how much this stuff just kept expanding. Like, it was crazy. And you end up with a really nice coco coir. And so I was kind of sold there. Also, the cost. I can't remember exactly how much I paid, but I think that those 4 individual bricks was like $8. So it's cheap. Like, this is probably cheaper than soil, actually. So let's go look at what I've got going on here. So I was kind of quick to make the decision that I didn't want to use the mats, and I was going to go with probably the coco coir. And what I did is I actually stacked these up. So let's see, do I have these actually latched? So here's some red Arrow Radish that's growing in here. And like I said, I'm gonna put holes in these tonight. I can't wait any longer. Right after I get done making this video, I'm gonna go find my soldering iron and put holes in it. But anyways, so far, all these are growing with no nutrients in them at all. It's just the coco coir. But my next addition of water will be with nutrients. And I think I'm gonna do that with a funnel. I'm actually gonna use a funnel, like a car funnel, a clean one, not one that's ever had oil in it, and just dump the nutrients into the funnel that's right on the soil. That way I don't have to get it all over everything. But yeah, so I had these actually stacked up for like 3 days, and they did great. Really happy with them. Let me get one out here so you can actually really see it. So these are looking fantastic. Got a couple here that just kind of picked up. Probably just make sure I get these all kind of cleaned up a little. But overall, they're really good. And then another thing, I'll show you. Look at that root system. So the microgreens are absolutely loving the cocoa core. So I've got, these are red volcano. And they're doing pretty good too. So what I did is I did 5 red volcanoes and 5 of the red arrow radish. And I'm actually going to try to sell these ones. So my next video, I will show the updated with them being complete and labeled and have the holes in them. And we'll see how that's been working. And then I will also, in that same video, let you know whether or not they sold. I'm going to actually try to get $10 retail for these. We'll see. I don't know. It's kind of expensive at that rate. And I would probably get $7 each, and the retail store will get $3. And I haven't discussed that with them yet, so we'll have to see if that works out and if that's something that they want to do. But yeah, stay tuned for my next video, which should be my final video on selling living microgreens. If it all works out, we will see. Thanks for watching.